Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, said Warren Buffett. So, such a good phenomenon that happens in human life and has so much value and interest to everybody, not only in the financial field, but in everything in life. A lot of people like Alex Hormozi, Andrew Tate, and Warren Buffett talks about the compound interest in human life, whether that be in skills, achievement, just training, fitness, anything really in life, also financially, obviously, is one of the biggest unfair rules that you can have and use. And today, I really want to talk about it. I'll talk about how I understand the compound interest, how I think they mean when they talk about it, and also my experience. I've tried to use and take leverage of the compound interest in so many different aspects of my life, whether that be in skills or fitness or literally everything I do in my life. I always try to take advantage of the compound interest, and I would say what actually makes a difference. Is it really worth the hype, and how can you also use it, and how do I deal with it? So yeah, let's get started. Obviously, I'm not a billionaire and I'm not Warren Buffett, but the good thing about the compound interest, and it's something that really fascinates me, is the compound interest is not only financial, it's not only money. And I truly believe that also when it comes to financial, obviously it's the main essence of it, financially, money, you really cannot be rich or accumulate any amount of riches, no matter how small or big it is, without compound interest. Meaning, you just compound day after day after day. And that's why I'm pretty sure Elon Musk have actually just posted about this on Twitter. He said a lot of people just don't understand the difference between compound interest and not compound interest, or linear interest, which means if I give you a penny every single day for a month, you're gonna be broke at the end. You're gonna have 30 pennies. Not big of a deal. But if I'm gonna double it every day for a month, every day for a month, you're gonna be the richest man on the planet by day 30. That's how big it is. That's how huge it is. Because the results is extremely unpredictable or just unrelated to the basis or the root or whatever you start with. Now, the craziest some sort of breakthroughs that I heard was compound interest can not only be used in financial situations, but actually also in skills, most specifically, or achievements, or learning. And I think that's one of the most essence that I started lately to more focus on, or I'm interested in and I have to focus on even more, is how much of a compound interest can you actually use or double down. So I'm pretty sure you heard a lot. Okay, let's talk about experience. Let's just not do a monologue here. Let's talk about my own experience, okay? So I started a service which is I make PowerPoint presentations for students in class. You are in class, it doesn't matter what grade you are, college or literally normal schools, whatever, I don't care. I do for $1, I make a PowerPoint presentation for whatever topic you want. I give it to you, give me $1, we're good. That was the basics, right? Obviously it's cheap. I was literally, most of the money I didn't get. A lot of people were frauding me. You got the point. It took me 4 hours sometimes to make one presentation, but it was a good basics of skills. Now what I added even more, just by luck, some people asked me and I said yes, is I actually started to make theses for people who are not really, it's not like a PhD thesis, but let's say after high school, 2 years after high school in university thesis. Right? You don't think the examination is going to be as thorough, as deep as the PhD. So I did that. I did that for a while, did that for a few students, and I was fucking good. I got good at it. So I built the basis of presentations, then I added the basis of basic thesis. Then I get the opportunity, or just got lucky again. Some people asked me to make the thesis, and they were not in 2 years after high school, they were 3 years after high school. I said, what? Of course I can't fucking do it. Of course I was fucking lying. I was just going for it. Never done a thesis in my life. So I did that. I learned how to do that and make it happen. So that is stacking theses or stacking skills. Then master degree came up. They were like, hey, can you actually make my thesis? Never done a master's thesis in my fucking life. Of course I fucking can. That's what I said. And I did that. And I wouldn't be able to make that master thesis if I didn't do the first presentation for normal classes at first. So that some sort of, it looks linear, but it's mostly compound interest in skills. I was stacking skills above each other. Is that I needed the presentation skills to make the thesis of the first 2 years in university, because it didn't acquire a lot of research and a lot of skills. It just requires basic knowledge in how to make presentations. And I wouldn't be able to make a third year or a bachelor degrees in university if I didn't make the 2 years university thesis, because that not only acquired the basics knowledge of presentations, but also required the basic knowledge of how to do research and how to make thesis look like a good research. And if I hadn't done the bachelor degrees, I wouldn't be able to make a master's degrees, because a master's degrees not only requires a basic presentations and a basic research and make it look like a good research, but also requires a good knowledge about statistics and some sort of the layouts and the skeleton that goes through a research and what actually matters and the references and all of that, that is very important to learn, right? So that stacking of skills is extremely important, and that's what gives you some sort of arbitrary or whatever arbitrage or just like good results. Just say that like that. What gives you good results, or give you unexpected results, or what gives you the most leverage of what you can do. It's not only a skill, but many of skills. Another example is this YouTube channel. At first, I was making YouTube videos with on my phone in Arabic, in Moroccan, right? So we didn't do that for 8 years, 6 years, 5 years, 8 years, something like that. So we did that for long years. Then I said, well, my English is pretty fucking good. What about I stack those together? Now, I don't only know how to make YouTube videos, film, edit, and record and talk, whatever, but also I know how to talk English. And that's what I do here. Now, I'm also adding other stuff, which is my knowledge, my skills, my learning, my personality, right? My experiences. So I work on that so we can add to that, right? So now I wouldn't be able to talk about this topic if I didn't actually go and listen and learn in the first place, take hours or thousands of hours just to spend to learn what compound interest is, actually apply it in my life, understand it, have a good information about it, have a good, some sort of personal opinion about it, some sort of feedback about it, that it can actually provide value here. And that's what the point of compound interest. Now, how you can use it in different fields of life. So compound interest is one of the things that will make you different than everybody else. We're talking in college, generally is what makes you different, right? And the same thing, again, brother, compound interest in college. I'll give you another example. I did this service about presentations. I know how to make word presentations and to make texts looks good and be presentable and have it formal, academic and professional, looks cool. I know how to do that. Now, what I added is a good relationship with professors. I can talk to professors in a good manner. Also, it's a skill that I learned in the business indirectly, but you got the point. I know how to have a good relationship with professors. So if I didn't actually know how to make good presentations, I wouldn't be able to have a good relationship with professors, right? What I add to that is a good knowledge about the particular topic that professors teach, which means I sit in the front row, I listen, I take notes, whatever bullshit, and I hear the professors and I really try to understand and listen to them, actively listening to them, etc. So I stack those. If I didn't make the presentations, I wouldn't have personal experience, personal relationship with the professors. And if I didn't have personal relationship with the professors, I couldn't actually understand the class or the topic at a deep level as I do. Now, what I do is I take advantage of the compound interest and I make presentations about that particular topic, about this particular professors, using my presentation skills, which is a compound interest. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a good relationship with the teacher, if I didn't understand the topic, and if I didn't understand how to make presentations well. Now, I even added more level to that, which is how to be unique, how to be memorable, how to be the odd one out, how people actually remember your name, how the professors actually give you a full grade, 20 out of 20 note, is being different from everybody else. The people above 84 people, 85 people can know, I know that guy is the best in the class. I add even more compound interest to that. What I did, I went outside of college, outside of this, I ran a half marathon. You're like, what? How's that compound interest? Let me explain. What I did the research about the half marathon, talking about the module that we studied, which is quality management. So I applied quality management in my half marathon results with my training team, group, whatever, athletes and coaches. I did that. So I made a presentation, a research with the teacher that I build a good relationship with. So I'm building a relationship with, right? On the topic that I understand very well, right? I made a presentation about my half marathon. So I did a presentation. It's literally, I just sent it to her today and she was absolutely stunned and happy. The best reaction that I've ever heard from her, and she is busy. She never replies, she never cares, even in class, she gives you 5 seconds max. Right? Why? Because I made a presentation, a research about the half marathon, and I knew, obviously, because I built the personal relationship, I know she's interested in sports. So I built a presentation about the half marathon, about specifically in upgrading quality or quality management in my run, which is the model that we're studying, with the teacher I know best, using the qualities and knowledge in the topic, and obviously leveraging my presentation skills. This is what compound interest is you stack skills and you make sure that the thing you do at the top is maximizing all the skills. So I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't know how to present the presentations, if I didn't know how to build a good relationship with the teacher, if I didn't understand the topic of what the teacher is teaching, if I didn't actually make researches before for the teacher about all the different topics, and if I didn't run the half marathon. And that's what skill stacking is. That's what actually the compound interest is. And I'm pretty sure now you have a good idea about how this is. Now let's talk about the tricky part, which is how does it feel when you're actually in the game? Because when you are trying your best, it gets a bit tricky to understand or some sort of have a good bird eye view or on whatever you're doing. Now as I'm talking, it's easy. You understand it, you're like, okay, it's a good example, I get the point. But when you actually exercise it and execute, a lot of the times you're so caught up in the details that you miss the big picture. And now I'll give you some clues for you. So, the difference between compound interest and just skills in general, or just being consistent, is being consistent is doing the same thing every day for a long time. Compound interest is not only doing the thing, but actually adding things to it, so you build more value with time. And the crazy thing about it, it doesn't go to burnout. It doesn't make you burn out. Because it's not even results driven, right? It's not I was making the presentation and already thinking about making a presentation for the half marathon. I didn't think of that. I was just thinking of making presentations. And just with skills stacking, that a lot of the times just natural, just being a good opportunist, which means being capable, being available for opportunities when they came up, you can actually capitalize on them. You get that benefit of not the benefit of the doubt, but the benefit of the compound interest. Okay? Now, one of the most important things as well is giving yourself the privilege or the advantage or the possibility or the capability to actually take use of the compound interest. Alex Hormozi in his last video talks about it as having capability or having the capacity. And he talks about a lot of the opportunities that came up to our lives, a lot of them are compound interest related. You need to have some sort of capacity, whether that being you need to have time. If I didn't have time to learn the presentation or to run the half marathon, I couldn't do that project that I've just done. It could be money. Sometimes you need some money to capitalize on those opportunities, right? Sometimes you need networking, right? If you don't know specific people, you can't capitalize on certain opportunities. Sometimes you need other skills, like now, I need all the skills to make the final product. You need some other skills to capitalize on those opportunities. And I like this quote from Alex Hormozi. He says, a lot of the opportunities, or there's an unfathomable amount of opportunities that are presenting to us right now, but we're not capitalizing on them because simply we don't have the capacity, that we're not even able to see them in front of us. And this is a thing that I've experienced from first-hand experience, first-hand principle. Me and my colleagues, a lot of the times, we are presented with the same opportunities, but all the time, almost 99.9% of the times, I capitalize on all of them, or at least the most important one of them, while they capitalize on none. And we have the same presentation of opportunities. I'll give you a good example. Last week, there is the biggest gym in my city. I'm talking the biggest, the most expensive gyms, right? The most expensive gyms in my city made events, made 2 separate events, right? Obviously, each one on their own. You can think that they're obviously competing with each other. I don't care. But the point is, the biggest gyms in my city that obviously you need to be rich, or it's expensive to train in there. You need to be rich to basically train in there. All people, or just rich people who train in there, made free events that everybody can attend to. And he just uploaded it on social media. I was lucky to be presented by that video, and not only me, thousands of people got presented by that video. It's a public video on Instagram, right? Just like you can think of the newspapers in 1990s or early 2000s, 1990s, more accurate, right? So I got the opportunity, like, okay, cool. Now, how I capitalized on it, because I had the capacity, right? I had the time to actually go to that event. More than that, I had the ability or the confidence in myself that I'm socially capable of integrating with groups that I know nothing about. Because I go to the event, all of them, I found out lately, or after when I went to the events, that everybody that came, all of them trained in the gyms. All of them were rich. I was probably the only one who wasn't from the gym, right? And I just went there. I just popped up. So I genuinely got the most use, the most value from that event. Because I didn't pay nothing. Those people pay yearly, a huge sums amount of monies. But only because I was capable of capitalizing on that opportunity. So I had the time, I had the social ability, and 3, most important, I used to train. I always train. I'm not afraid of training. Whether that be with group training, different training, I don't even care what they're gonna train. I know I usually have the good capacity, capability, ability to actually go and train because I'm used to training, right? Also 4, I'm used to events. I just did the half marathon the weekend before it. So I'm used to events. And this is what compound interest is. And this is also what being capable or having the capacity to capitalize on the opportunities that gets to you. And the only reason why this comes to mind so fast, because I was talking to my friend yesterday, to my colleague, one of my colleagues, and he said, yes, and I'm depressed. I'm so depressed. Like, how, help me. Like, what's your advice to me? I said, well, you need to have a routine. You need to do the same thing every day. You need to just have at least something that you do every day. And sports is one of the easiest ones. And he was listening. I said, look, bro, you need to also do certain things. Like last week, I had 2 events free of these gyms, the best in the fucking city, for free. I was the only one who went there that I wasn't training. And the entire ad was, it's a free event, 100% everybody can come. And you know what's the crazy thing about it, by the way? It was not full. It was not full. It was not sold out, There were plenty of seats, free. So genuinely, anybody could have come. Anybody could have come, and it was just let him in because they had so many seats and places, but only few showed up. Just the people who trained and me showed up, and half of it, we're talking half the places, maximum, only half filled. The other half is empty. Half filled, right? Because they had a good collaboration with a paddle place and all of that, which is such a good opportunity. And I talked to him. I said, you have to be able to sort of capitalize on those opportunities. And he said, maybe I saw the video. But really, that's what makes the difference. Having the capacity, having the ability, being almost, well, Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, the book, he talks about being almost open-minded, which is open to opportunities, open to new ideas. It's not the modern definition of open-mindedness in a bad way, but open-minded to new ideas, to opportunities, right? Which is also a sort of definition that I heard for the first time in my life from my older brother. We were sitting in a coffee shop and he was sort of like, we had this feedback meeting that we had. It was like every 2 years back then, which was horrible, but I sat with him and I was talking to him. He was asking me like, what's up? Where are you at? And I was talking to him and he said, you need to be able to be brave. That's how he stated. You need to work on your bravery. You need to be brave. Because sometimes in life, you will have this opportunity that you're going to sit in this exact table, just a very similar table with two people across it. They're going to present you, give you a job opportunity, but it's going to be abroad. It's going to be in a different city. And you need to make a decision right now. Yes or no. And now looking back in retrospect, it's almost what I'm teaching now. It's almost what I wouldn't say preaching, but you could say preaching. It's almost what I'm teaching now. It's being able, having the capacity to capitalize on different opportunities, because that what gives you some sort of huge upside value, upside interest, compound interest that separates you from the rest by miles. And I can genuinely talk about this particular topic for years probably, not even days, not even hours, because of how important and how almost as common it is. A lot of the topics that we talk about, especially with success and whatever, some of them are rare, like you don't really utilize them every day. This topic, you can utilize it a lot more often than when you think. And the better you get at it, the more often you use it. So this was my opportunity or my experience of actually capitalizing and utilizing compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world, as Warren Buffett has actually said it. And it's only fucking true. And the compound interest being the eighth wonder of the world, not only in the financial side, but especially in the skills and other fields of life. I hope that actually was useful. My experience was useful. This is how I think about it. This is how I deal with it. So thank you so much and subscribe. See you in the next one. Subscribe.